What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Engineered Impact Podcast. I want to talk today about something an idea that was triggered by an article I saw. It was posted by a friend on Facebook that got me a little frustrated. But I want to start out by asking you to picture something. Okay, I want you to picture that you live on an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, in a small village. You know, you're a fisherman or you're a farmer, whatever. Right? Very simple life. Okay. And one day a hurricane comes along and just devastates the island, right? Everybody's home is knocked down. Everybody's farms and crops are torn up. The fishing boats have been broken up, right? Everybody's world's been turned upside down overnight. Okay. So, hopefully everybody hunkered down, let the storm pass. It did its thing, right? We get up in the morning and start to survey the damage. Okay. What's the first thing you're going to do, right? You're going to look at, what happened to my home? What happened to my friend's home? Who got hurt? Who's sick? Did anyone die? Right? What do we need to do right now to survive? Okay. That's the first thing you're going to do is just take inventory of where you're at and then figure out how do we survive so that we can start to rebuild. Okay. And from there, once we figured that out, how are we going to get through today and tomorrow and the next few days? Right. The next step is how do we rebuild, right? We got to clean up the mess. We got to start to rebuild our homes. We got to fix the fishing boats. We've got to replant crops, all of these things, right? That they're required to rebuild. Okay. But if you were injured in the storm, if you've gotten sick because of the effects of the storm, participating in that rebuilding process is going to be very difficult, if not impossible. Okay. You can only help rebuild if you are personally in a position of health and strength to be able to do so. Right. Okay. So if you're thinking, Dan, what the heck are you talking about? I came here to learn about money and becoming financially free and making an impact. Why are you talking to me about living on a tropical island? Right. Okay. Bear with me. So this article that I read today was talking about this new economic threat that exists. Right. And again, it's May 2020. We're in the middle of the COVID-19 crisis. The economy is in shambles. Everything is a disaster. We've been hit with a storm, right? Storm that nobody saw coming. And businesses are shut down. Businesses are closing. Most of us are working from home. We're in the middle of a storm. Okay. But what the article was focusing on is what they're calling a threat, right? Which is the fact that credit card debt is declining precipitously and people are saving money at ridiculous rates that we haven't seen since Ronald Reagan was the president, right? Overnight, the savings rate has jumped from 8% to over 13%. And this is going to be a calamity for the economy, right? Okay. So I want to take a step back. And the reason this triggered me a little bit is it drives me up the wall when the media or politicians or people in influence take good behaviors like this and try to flip them and make people feel bad about it or make people feel like they're going to be the reason that the economy doesn't come roaring back, right? That's stupid. That's crazy. Okay. Credit card debt is financial cancer. There's no other way to put it. It is destructive. It is stupid. It will delay everything good that you're trying to do, right? You cannot become financially free unless you take care of that, right? Saving is a critical thing, right? You will never become financially free unless you save money on a regular basis, minimum of 10% of your income. Unless you build that habit, you will never be financially free. Okay. So what does any of that have to do with the storm, right? We're in the middle of a storm. Our world's just got rocked. The economy is in shambles. Everything's fallen apart, right? That hurts. There's no way for that to not hurt. Okay. Everybody's world just got turned upside down. There's no way around that. Okay. So is the economy going to come roaring back? Probably not. There's too many structural problems that are probably going to prevent that, right? Too many people have lost their jobs. Too many people didn't have any savings to see them through this. They're not going to go spend money, right? I mean, I feel like I was coming from a fairly strong position going into this. I had a fairly good financial foundation, and yet I changed some behaviors, right? My wife and I started saving a lot more money. We doubled the reserves that we have in these last 8 weeks, right? Because we realized that despite everything we'd done, we still felt some anxiety as this came about, right? I don't know if I'm going to lose my job. I've been blessed not to yet, but a lot of people have, and there's no reason I couldn't. Okay. And so as we surveyed that, we stopped spending as much. We started saving more, right? That's just a natural thing to do. That's what people do when they're nervous, right? Because despite what any politician or CNN or anybody else says, we know that we can't participate in rebuilding unless we're in a position of strength, right? The economy exists. The economy is not this thing, right? It's just made up of billions of us individually transacting and doing what makes sense for us, buying the things that we want, um, procuring the services that we need and enjoy, and doing the things that make our lives better, right? It's just the billions of us all doing that together that make up the economy, okay? The economy isn't this machine where you just pull levers and good things happen, right? Um, and so, we're all smart enough. We all know that inherently, right? When things start going bad, we're going to reduce our spending. We're going to start looking at where can we cut back? Where can we save money? Okay. And what we have to realize is that, saving first off is a foundation, right? Savings is what gives us the ability when we lose our jobs, when we get sick, when we get furloughed, when our salary is reduced, whatever it is that disrupts our ability to go transact in the economy. Saving is what helps preserve that, right? It gives us confidence that we can continue to participate in the economy. But if we haven't done that, if we haven't taken time to build that reserve, we don't have that confidence. And so people get nervous, and they reduce spending to save. That's just a natural thing to do, right? Now, does that threaten the economy? Kind of, it does, right? Our economy is built on debt and consumption. And when that consumption slows down, the economy slows down. So yes, CNN in that regard is right. People paying down their credit card debt and people saving money is going to reduce commerce. It's going to reduce the economy. Okay. But, okay, just like the storm, this is going to pass, right? And what drove me crazy about this is that while they're pointing out a real thing, that yes, will this impact the economy? Absolutely. Is it going to slow the recovery? No question about it. It will. Okay. But what they're missing and what drives me crazy about it is that this short-term threat to the economy, this short-term or the slower than they would like recovery, what that will hopefully do, what the fact that everybody is reducing their credit card debt and everybody's saving more money, hopefully what that means is when we all come out of our storm shelters in the morning, we will hopefully come out wiser and stronger consumers than we were, right? If there's anything that COVID-19 has exposed, it's the fact that our economy is kind of a house of cards, right? The government didn't have any reserves. Businesses didn't by and large have reserves, and too many people didn't have any reserves. And so when that happens, it doesn't matter if it was COVID or another housing crisis or a student loan default, something was going to happen eventually, right? And it doesn't matter what that was. What this is exposed is that most people, most businesses, certainly no governments were ready for this. And so hopefully what's happening is, as we've all realized that, as we've all been hit with that realization again, and people are starting to react to it, right? They're paying down debt, they're saving money, they're starting to do more responsible things, right? Both as individuals and businesses. And so while we're enduring the storm, while we're suffering through the pain, and while we're going to emerge from the storm cellar in the morning to an absolute mess, hopefully we're emerging healthy, stronger, wiser people, wiser business owners, wiser politicians that can start to rebuild, right? I feel sometimes like we live in this world where people in high places have this fallacy or this false idea that their job is to make sure nobody ever experiences any pain, right? That's not the world we live in, okay? Storms come, storms destroy things. That's just a reality of the world we live in, right? But these are opportunities for us to become stronger, to become wiser, and to rebuild something better, right? When a storm comes and it devastates the village, it's an opportunity to say, you know what? How can we make better homes? How can we protect our farms better? What were we doing before that we'd like to do better this time, right? That's exactly what we've been handed, is an opportunity to rebuild something better and stronger, right? As individuals, as business owners, as politicians, as a nation, as a world, we have an opportunity to hit the pause button. We've been forced into it, but we've hit the pause button. And when we come out of it, we have an opportunity, right? But we can't do that. We can't participate in that rebuilding process if we're sick, if we're weak. Certainly if we got crushed by the storm, right? People financially, in order to participate and whatever the economy looks like afterwards need a foundation, right? They need to be saving, they need to be reducing debt so that they can come out in a strong enough position to help rebuild. Okay, so that's the first thing. Is I just had to get that off my chest, right? Saving is a good thing. Is it going to reduce the economic recovery? Yes, but all of us will come out in a better position to help participate in the rebuilding. Okay. Now, the other thing that I realized, because I was thinking about, why is it that we have to reduce so much when we do this? And one of I think there's different reasons for that, right? Some people live paycheck to paycheck, and whether out of necessity or irresponsibility, they spend all their money, right? That's one problem. But for a lot of people, the kind of people that are participating and listening to this kind of conversation, odds are you aren't irresponsible, right? You are saving. You're putting money away for retirement. You maybe have a little bit of liquid savings on the side that you do in addition to that. You spend prudently, but whatever the reason, one of the things that I realize that becomes problematic is where you save matters, right? Because having savings is one thing, having liquidity is a totally different thing, right? So let me try and explain that, right? If all of your savings is going into a 401k, for example, right, it's very hard to touch that money. Okay, it's not impossible, but it's very difficult to touch that money. Okay, so let's say the storm comes, right? You lost your job, or you were furloughed, or you had your salary reduced, whatever it was. There was a disruption, there was a threat to your income, right? Or maybe it's not even that. Maybe you're in a position where you're just nervous, right? You're in an industry that's susceptible to that, or maybe it just hasn't gotten around to you yet. Whatever it is, having savings gives you confidence, it gives you security, right? But if all of your savings are locked up in a 401k, that doesn't do you a lot of good, right? Because when you get to that point, whatever it is that causes that realization that, I need cash, I need liquidity, I need to be able to, if I lose my job, I need to be able to keep paying my mortgage, I need to keep making my car payment, putting food on the table, all of those things, right? Liquidity is what you need, not just savings. You need liquidity, okay? And so if all of your savings are locked up in a place where you can't access it, the only way to get that liquidity is to take something of what's left after you paid your taxes and you put money in the 401k. You've got to reduce what you're spending, reduce your participation in the economy so that you can set aside liquid savings, right? So to me, this is kind of like having all of your savings locked up in a qualified plan like a 401k or IRA is kind of akin to dying of thirst in the middle of the ocean, right? You're surrounded by cash. You've been responsible. You've done everything you were supposed to do. You've got a lot of savings. It doesn't do you any good. It can't help you when you need it, right? Now, there are ways to get that money, right? But it requires you raising your hand and saying, hey, Mr. Mrs. Employer, hey, Mr. IRS, can I please have some of my money back? Because I'm in a world of hurt right now and I need it, right? So that's possible, but they get to say yes or no. And then if they say yes, the IRS is going to say, oh, yes, but by the way, you owe us 30 or 40% of that before you get to touch it, right? That's a pretty painful way to access your savings. So, again, we've talked about this several times before, right? But this is one of the hazards of a qualified plan. You've been responsible, you've done the right things, you've put the money away, but you can't get it when you need it. Okay, you don't have liquidity. And so, we'll talk more in the future about cash flow and other things like that. But the big thing I wanted to just plant in your ear today is those two things. In order to be able to participate in rebuilding, right? Rebuilding your life, your personal economy, the national economy, you need to be coming from a position of strength. You need to have the ability to go out and start participating in the economy when it opens back up, right? So if for you that includes paying off things like credit card debt, do it. That's important, right? Because that's going to allow you to emerge stronger and wiser, right? If it includes building up liquid savings, you need to do that, right? Because even though that's reducing your consumption right now, that's hurting the economy in the short term. Again, it will allow you to rebuild because you're coming from a position of strength later. Okay, and then start to think about you again. You have an opportunity to look at what's caused you anxiety, what's caused you nervousness, what's caused you pain during this storm, right? And what do you want to change as you start to participate in the rebuilding process? And if you've realized that, you know what, I've been saving for years, I've been responsible, I did everything I was told, but when I needed it, that money wasn't there because it was locked up in this account that I don't control. Maybe that's something that you want to look at changing. Okay. So that's a big thing to take away from today. All right. As you're reading these articles, recognize that yes, there is going to be economic pain. There's no way around it. Right. But you are empowered and will be empowered to rebuild not only your personal economy, but the national economy. And so the questions you want to be asking yourself right now are, what will it take for you to be in a position of health, to be in a position of financial strength, so that you can emerge from this and help participate in that rebuilding process? All right. So that's the thought for today. Have a great day, and we will catch you next time.